Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Yaag project. After a long time, in today's episode, we are having a guest episode. And as you know, we generally don't have this unless we find someone really, really special. Today, I have somebody whom I really consider to be much more spiritually evolved than me. He is not only a corporate trainer, but very spiritually evolved and the author of the book Aghori, The Untold Story. It is a book that really touched my heart. It's important because it's a book that busts the myths that people have around Aghoris. The West often thinks that Aghoris are all about people who sit in cremation grounds, people who drink alcohol, eat human flesh. But there is much more beyond that if you are a little open to explore. So today we have the author of the book, Mayur Kalbag sir. Sir, welcome to the show. I'm so happy and blessed to have you here.
Har Har Mahadev, Alak Niranjan. Nice
Alak
to
Niranjan.
nice to meet you. And first and foremost, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. And I feel special that I'm sort of one of the few that you get on your show because I think you have more of them which are where you do the podcast and
Right.
stuff. So I to be a guest on your podcast is something that I'm very happy about. And I have a small request. You can please address me as Mayur,
Okay.
because sir to sabke paas hota hai, and the ultimate sir is Shiva.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can address me as Mayur.
Thank you so much for that privilege, Mayur. I'll absolutely do that. Mayur, I wanted to start today's show with a special line that I liked from your book. And this is very interesting because everybody thinks Ahoris are fierce people. The moment you look at them, you get a sense of scare or fear when you look at them. And yet, there are some areas in the book where you see their lighter side. You see them pulling off pranks. I have one line here which is I something I really loved. It says, out of all the people where they talk about loncheku, right? So he said, loncheku is not made from the egg of bottle flies. It's actually made from baby scorpions. I'm like, wow. And how can an agori, like, I cannot even imagine how they say that. So how did this line come to you? How, I mean, this is really really fascinating to hear. Even imagining that, hey, Subbu, the protagonist, is asking this. He's really loving that dish that he's eating, and the moment he realizes that this is what it is, he's shocked, and then realizes they are actually pulling a prank on him.
Interesting. You just awakened those memories. A of that what happened, and B of memories of writing that. I've I felt that Aghoris, have been sort of misrepresented in many ways, and of course we'll go into the details of it about what we have been fed through the videos and etc. on the internet. But this part I want to highlight that it was written to bring out the humorous aspect of the Aghori. See, whether they are aggressive or whatever, they do have, like all human beings or all beings in a human form, though they are different, they still have the element of humor. And one of the ways that they would do that is playing pranks
Right.
and to see the reactions of Subraya, and to see how he, what happens to him when he's told something and then the reality is different, and then again he comes to know it's not really that, etc. So the whole idea was to make people, understand that they too have a sense of humor. They too play pranks, and but their way of doing it is slightly different because the context is different. This was in that cave where Subraya was taken.
Yes.
So they're not stand-up comics, right? They're not going to crack jokes like that.
Right.
So they're going to do something which is typically a prank. So that was the idea, for the reader to also smile about it, like I'm sure you did.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
so somebody actually even asked me, "What is loncheko?" And they were like, "Can I? Is it really sort of? Can I? How does it
Taste it.
taste?"
Right.
Well, there are so many dishes that we don't even know. For example, there are so many herbs in the mountains that we don't even know, and are amazing herbs. Not just in the mountains that reside on this part of the planet in India, but even across.
Right.
So yeah, but coming to your specific question, it was mainly to highlight the humorous angle or the aspect of the Aghori sadhus.
Right. No, this is amazing. There are so many parts, but I first wanted to ask you, where did the inspiration to write about Aghoris come from? Because, you know, yes, while talking about that, if you can also elaborate a little bit on who Aghoris are, because majority of our listeners, because this podcast originally started from a marketing podcast and became this, majority of our listeners are from the US and Europe, and they might not really know who Aghoris are. And if you can give a little bit of insight into that and then also talk about the inspiration of this book, that'll be amazing.
So Aghoris or Aghori sadhus or Aghora sadhu, they are sadhus like a lot of these sadhus who meditate in different parts of India. They're also called yogis. But Aghori is one one type of a sadhu who practices techniques of meditation which are very different from those practiced by other types of sadhus. Okay, let me give you a very quick example. So there is somebody who takes sannyasa, who says that I'll abdicate myself from everything. I'll go and I'll merge with the super consciousness who he would or she would understand as, say, Lord Shiva, or maybe Vishnu or Brahma, or maybe something else, some other entity. They will go meditate. They'll be initiated into, say, for example, mantra japa, and which is beautiful. For the Aghori, it's different. So many things that they practice will be quite shocking to lots of people, because a lot of people will typically associate sadhus with what I said earlier: mantra japa,
That's right. Yeah.
simple, sit and visualize the awakening of the kundalini center, the chakras, which is, as I said, is a amazing thing. But the Aghoris will do things in ways which will even frighten other people. Of course, it has been stretched too much. For example, they do go to the smashan bhumi, or the cremation grounds,
Right.
and they practice certain kriyas or techniques of meditation. The stretch of that happens when people assume that that's where they are all the time. For them, that's one of the spaces to go. For us, we would be told, hey, sit in a room which is quiet. Or for a yogi of another type, a sadhu, he'll be told that go to the top of the Himalayan mountain and sit and sort of feel amazing with the skies above, etc., which is again amazing. But for them, one of the things is that. So Aghori sadhus are those who practice different and sometimes to the others frightening type of techniques to merge with Lord Shiva. They are they consider themselves, they believe that they are the very close ganas, or the closest followers of Shiva.
What is a Gana?
Gana is it's a word in Sanskrit, or it's not an English word. It is that entity who Shiva considers his sevak, the closest people. I was about to say closest buddies types, but not really
Right.
buddies.
Right.
So if you go, for example, if you go on a trek, you'll have some people who will help you out.
Right.
For example, the
Yes.
Sherpas.
Yes.
So of course that's only an analogy,
Yeah.
but these people are those who consider themselves as ganas, or who are there to always be with Shiva to help him out, and etc. So so Aghori sadhus therefore are those who feel that they, by doing things that they do, they will, by the way they practice their kriyas, they will attain the merging with Shiva fastest. It's like a very blissful shortcut for them. Blissful to them. For us, it's like, oh my god, how are they doing that? So that's how I'll explain, or have responded to the question you asked. But I'll conclude by saying what I got to learn is that uh, an agora or aghor is, by meaning itself, is he or she who doesn't fear darkness. And here, darkness can be also a metaphor and can be even a literal thing. So when there is negativity as well, when there is negativity as well, uh, or when there is actual darkness, the Aghori sadhu will go through it. He'll break through it. Um, so he or she who doesn't fear that which others fear, maybe, who can go through, who has conquered the darkness of negativity or the literal darkness, and then goes through it towards the light of
Right.
consciousness, is Aghor. Is not like, Ghor is darkness. Aghor, who doesn't fear
Opposite of
darkness.
it. Right.
Opposite of it. Aghor,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
This is one of the interpretations which I have got to learn and understand and believe in.
So can darkness also mean unknown?
Yes, because unknown can be dark, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
You don't know. So it's a little dark. When you throw light on it, you see it.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. And the way you explained brings me more questions. Or I'm here, as I mentioned in the prep conversations, that it's like being a kid in a candy store. I have so many things to ask you. You spoke absolutely. So you spoke about how aghoris practice certain things, and are coming across fearless at times, and then they also have this set of practices. At the same time, you have also mentioned that in your book, you've also mentioned that there are certain aghoris who are also initiated into japas as well, mantra japas as well. And then you also mentioned that there are lady aghori sadhus as well, which the world doesn't know. So have you had a chance to come across a lady aghori? Have you spoken to them?
My exposure to the Aghori sadhus, I believe, it spans beyond this life because of my belief in the aspect. I wouldn't call it concept, but the aspect of previous births and deaths. I've had, I feel, instances where I've met Aghoris. In this life, I have, but even in previous lives. Aghori sadhus or sadhvis, the lady Aghoris, are there, but they're very few. And
Okay.
the reason is that the path of Aghori Panth, Aghor Panth, or that part, way of reaching Shiva, Shiva Tattva, is very difficult. And there are certain um, techniques which are more towards for the men, for them to do. And again, I'm not discriminating here, but there are some which the women can do much better in terms of meditation. So that's the reason why there are few lady aghoris.
Right.
And but there are. And in my Aghori part 2, there will be certain instances where they will make their presence felt in that story. At least that's
Wow.
what they've told me, is how I feel it.
Amazing. So there is a part two coming. I'm so happy. The way the book ends, it leaves us on a cliffhanger where Subbu goes back to his guru and delivers the things that he's supposed to carry and deliver. I'm not going to break the mystery for the readers, but towards the end, he hears a calling, which is very similar to the ones he is used to while he's spending his time with the Aghoris. And my question till date, it's very similar to who killed Bahubali. This is kind of a question where who is that person who called Subbu? Are we going to get an answer in the second book?
You will. And that second book also will not be only Subraya alone in his journey. Okay. There'll be, he will not be alone. And that'll be amazing, because that's exactly what happens is when you're, so I won't reveal much, because that journey is happening in my mind. And it's slowly coming into, in the form of a text, slow and steadily. But
Amazing.
yes, into the lady Aghori aspect will also be awakened. And I hope I've answered your question about the lady Aghori.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you covered a little bit about Shivatva or Shivatva, how people would call it. So let's talk about that. What is Shivatva? Aghoris, as you mentioned, are in the path of attaining Shivatva. So what does that mean?
Okay, before I answer this question, I think I do remember you had in your previous question alluded to mantras. So let me quickly respond, because I'm sure the viewer will be saying, "Arey, he has not talked about the mantras which was asked about." So mantra meditation through the chanting of mantras is one of the most powerful ways of awakening the energies inside the body, the spiritual energies, along with another powerful function that a sadhu does is visualization. But since this is about mantras, so again, I'm not going to go into the technicalities, because that will become too extended as my answer. But Aghori sadhus also, as one of their techniques, they also have to go to certain places, and for certain number of hours, days, weeks, they practice the constant repetition of certain mantras which are very different. Every mantra has got a beej akshara, and that is again within that powerful mantra, the beej makes it all the more powerful. Aing, Ring, Shring, Rung. These are beej aksharas. So the sound and the meaning of it, but especially the sound, that's what acts on the on any person who practices it. So Aghoris also practice these mantras, but their mantras are secret mantras initiated by their gurus, and then they have to practice it to for the same purpose, which is awakening and intensifying the energies, the spiritual energies. And now we come to your this question, the Shiva Tattva. Yeah, Shivatva. Yes. so it's emanating from the understanding that there is this super high force called an entity called Shiva, who we also call him Mahadev, um, and what else? So we give him those names, uh,
Shambho.
Shambho, exactly. These are all words that we have created, our ancestors, or whenever they felt that energy.
Yeah,
So that energy has been, what shall I say? We have, when a baby is born, we give it a name, right?
yeah,
So it's a name that has been given. So we have adhered to that, right? And the other part, this is my answer, okay? I don't know what others think. So Shiva Tattva. Tattva is really what is most important for me. Tattva is that consciousness, super consciousness.
right,
It's the electricity through which the particles of us light particles are moving around. The mother, the real. These Aghori sadhus, or any, they all are wanting to go towards back to that electricity, or back to that tattva.
right,
And because the tattva has been given a name called Shiva, that's why it's Shiva Tattva.
right.
And so we follow. See, we need a name, right?
Yeah,
Imagine you there and you have no name. It'll be so difficult, isn't it?
yeah, yes,
Or on a more deeper note, if there's energy and there is no form to it, it'll be so difficult to visualize.
yeah,
So, therefore, they practice whatever they do, visualizing and yearning and desiring to go towards the tattva which they understand as Shiva, Shiva
right.
Tattva.
I've always understood, when I say Shivatva, my perception was initially like maybe it's a characteristic, Shivatva, like becoming like Shiva or attaining the qualities of Shiva. For example, when you chanted those Bija mantras, I could feel a sense of energy and vibe, and it had it electrifies, it creates an electric field around you. So I was thinking, are those qualities? Sometimes, when I hear you speak, I also feel that, hey, maybe this is how Mayur's guru speaks. Maybe that energy and that vibe comes through him, and he has attained some of those qualities in the way he chants and the way he speaks. So, is that also part of Shivatva?
Yes. So this energy manifests itself. Shiva energy manifests itself, right? If you go back into when we read about Shiva, Parvati, those lovely stories about how they came together, Ganapati and all that. That's amazing. And therefore, because of its manifestation in that form of this amazing personality of Shiva, the Jata, um, and for example, the Tandav and the third eye. And when Shiva meditates, he cannot be disturbed. He goes into intense meditation. Now, these are so Shiva for me is there, the a very advanced yogi. Of course, I'm calling that energy Shiva, and there are these beings who are at a different level of meditation, and they do have qualities which we also want to imbibe in us through our meditation. So even if you look at the Aghori sadhu or even a Naga sadhu, but since we're talking about Aghoris, I'll focus on this. They they describe, or even we describe Shiva as Jatadhari. So when you see an Aghori, he'll also have that Jata. Now, I don't mean to say that everybody who believes in Shiva should have Jata. Like we also love Shiva, but we don't have that kind of Jata. But they want to follow and in so much way that they even want to feel and look like how they believe Shiva uh, was Jatadhari. As an example, I'm giving you. Shiva used to meditate. Shiva had his Ugra Roop as well. So Aghoris also believe that's fine. They also have that kind of an assertive disposition. When you meet an Aghori, he will not say, "Hello, कैसे हैं आप? आइए, बैठिए, थोड़ा जब." There will be others who will do that, right? कैसे हैं? आइए, please बैठिए. That polite, that vinamrata. Aghori sadhus don't want to do all that. They are not interested in all this uh, communication skills, presentation skills. They are like straight. They'll just say what they want to say. That's it. But they won't be violent in their words, right? They'll be very straight, clear. No time to be polite and no time to think about was I rude to someone. It's just that किधर है कहाँ से आया बैठो इधर. It's like that straight. So coming back to your question is Aghoris, they will always try and pick things as qualities from that entity that they believe in. And the same thing happens with us, right? Like in my case, since you brought my guru, he's addressed as, and his name is Swami Sadhyo Jata Shankarashram. So many of us, when we went to Kailash, and we all went together, we were able to really see our guru in close proximity, how our guru would, if I can use the word, transact and communicate and connect with the entire the entire, I don't know what it is. It's different, right? The skies are different, the mountains. My guru was in ecstasy, in happiness. Um, and then when you come back, and of course, then you see the guru performing the puja on the banks of Manasarovar, it's beyond happiness for us as well as sadhakas or shishyas. And then what happens is when you come back, unknowingly you also pick up some qualities, which is great. It just happens. I remember, since this is a very candid podcast, I remember when I got to meet Swamiji, and I used to chant because again, that's one of the things I have loved to learn from our guru. And when the guru says it, you take it, and that's how you say it because he's your teacher. So I remember Swamiji used to say, Dakshinasya Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Pariyanta Smarya Guru Parampara. That's how Swamiji would typically start a pravachan, remembering the Guru Parampara, of which he is a part and we are also part of that. So I learned it because it hit me like a rocket, boom, and I loved it and I learned it. It took some time. I had no idea of what Sanskrit language is, but I learned it. And then somewhere later, somebody told Swamiji that, hey, in whichever way, I think it was through an interview or something, Mayur, you know, chants exactly like you or something like that. And Swamiji pulled my leg once. It was in a small little mutt in our village, and we were just chatting. He said, hey, by the way, I heard you chant like you imitate me. Swamiji just again, that sense of humor, and Swamiji's sense of humor is unbelievable. But anyway, so I was so nervous because I didn't know what to say because I thought I did something wrong because I, of course, was wanting to recite like the Guru. So Swamiji must have seen my facial expressions turning from excitement to sudden nervousness. And Swamiji said, I was just, in Swamiji's own way, that I'm just joking, but listen, it's okay, it's good. So Swamiji said, even when Swamiji was reciting, his guru, somebody would say to the guru, Are, he recites just like you. And so I took it as a prasad when my guru said to me that go ahead and you don't do this to sound like a guru. You don't do this. It just happens when you believe and love somebody so much, like Shiva for the Aghoris. They also imbibe many things.
Right. You spoke about your guru, which was so fascinating to hear, and this has been this is something that I've shared with you in my off the conversations several times. Is that I've been longing always to have a guru. I've been seeking a guru. So let's talk about this. What does it mean to have a guru? Does a student seek a guru, or does a guru identify a student? How does that connect happen, and what does it really mean to have a guru?
Because there are a lot of people who are watching this and may also want to know what is the meaning of the word guru.
Yeah.
He or she who dispels darkness
Yeah.
is a guru, and or that entity in whom there is guru tattva,
Right.
that consciousness and wisdom to guide other people and teach them the right way of living and make them more spiritual and help them to attain enlightenment
Right.
is a guru. And so, to your question, well, I can say that there are various streams of answers here, and hopefully they'll come together and come as a confluence. One way of answering the question would be, if your soul has lived a life which has been the life of a spiritual being in whichever way, completely a yogi life, or maybe somebody who's balanced it, and then you're born here, then there will be that feeling of strong desire for a guru, and the desire to seek a guru. They already know internally that they want a guru, so they'll see some enlightened person, and they feel that the pull because of the past life, one of the lives that they may have led, which awakens. That's what happened to me in my case. Yes, the search for that to happen can take days, weeks, months, years, lives,
Even birds. Yeah.
or births. So because time is subjective,
Yeah.
right? If you look at the number of lives a person lives, in that very quickly he got a guru means after 3 4 lives he got a guru. And there could be somebody who's like still not getting a guru, he's lived like a number of lives.
Right.
But so this is not about mathematics, it's just understanding the fact that if you come with the latent feel, the soul wants it, but it's been born now in a different body. There are other samskars. You are an aspirational being. You are very materialistically and good way. You want
Yeah.
to earn money. There's that, and therefore sometimes I've seen, and I've actually seen that the managing director of an organization, like completely like robust and having all the amazing aspects of life, materialistic,
Right.
something happens and he gives it all up. He doesn't sacrifice it in that sense, but he just feels it has no meaning and stuff, and then he seeks the guru, and the guru, he meets somebody who's a
Yeah.
guru, and at a very later stage in life that also happens. So I can only say to you that keep the desire, the desire inside, the flame of desire burning all the time, and if you search you'll get it, right? There are many who don't even know that they need that there is something called a guru, and for some of us who have the guru or have a guru, it's most beautiful. It's most beautiful.
Absolutely.
I saw a picture which my father showed me, um, small little photograph, and my father was telling my mom in the morning, this was in Mumbai, I
Hmm.
was about to leave for office, um, and I heard my dad say that he's going to be our next swami,
Right.
Mathadipati.
Yeah.
And I just said, can I see the, I was just there. getting ready or whatever.
Let's also tell the audience that what does a Matadipati mean for the Western audience who doesn't know.
So a Mathadipati, we have mutts from the Hindu perspective. We have these um, lineages, right? The Adi Shankaracharya or the Shankaracharya, the Shankarashram,
Yeah,
different lineages. So, and they created long time back these mutts. Mutts, I would say, are places from where spiritual wisdom emanates.
right,
Mutt is a place where there are these gods who embody different qualities that we should have.
right,
And a mutt has a Matadipati or a Swami who does that.
right,
He's also known as a Parivrajakacharya. So he travels across spreading the wisdom of the sages, or spreading
right,
the wisdom of spirituality, and helping and guiding the devotees to reach a state of enlightenment in whichever
right,
time that may happen.
right.
That's how I would describe or I understand as Mutt and Matadipati.
Yeah,
So when I saw the picture, I just fell in love. It was love at first sight. And that love only has gotten stronger. Of course, love again is an English word. There's no word to that emotion. But the closest I could say for people to understand is love for the Guru.
yeah,
Just like the love is there for the mother, biological mother,
right.
love for the Guru. And I feel that's because I was like, my soul was like, you know, wow, we are back. You know what I'm saying, right? We are
Yeah,
back.
I'm getting goosebumps as you're saying this.
You know what? And my dad was going to go a month or a few weeks later to the to our village where there's the mutt for the coronation ceremony, where
Right.
my guru would be coronated as the Mathadipati. You know what? I went for 3 days. I had to go. I had to see. I was longing for, my soul was longing. It's like a long lost thing, you know. I can't say a friend because my guru is a different being,
Right.
spiritually different being. So that's what happened, and therefore it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen, and it's interesting. At the same time, one has to be careful. Some people get so intellectually inspired to have a guru that they keep making gurus.
Mm.
They'll go to a particular somebody will say go to that ashram and or that particular thing and
Institution of sorts.
whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
correct, and then they see this being and they force it, like, okay, which is to some extent very good because you're getting guidance. But guru shishya and that kind of thing, one, so I always say keep praying. If you feel it from inside, it'll happen, but don't force, don't go intellectually.
Right.
um, it's very difficult to articulate this, but I hope you're getting what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, don't push yourself too much just and make, it's not a tick mark. I got a guru, great.
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
Right. Can guru be, one to many? Because we're talking about also institutions. There are. I don't want to name people, but generally, what happens is when you look at any of these institutions, they tend to have thousands and thousands or millions of followers, and sometimes I feel that the guru might not know even one student individually. The a student might not even have had a chance to be intimately closer to the guru. Like, for example, the word Upanishad generally means that to sit closer to the guru. Upanishad, right? To sit closer to the guru, and which also means that you're getting a lot of secret learnings and knowledge from the guru. That intimacy is never going to be there. So should it be one to one, like how does that, it's not about a tick mark, but how do you recognize that, all right, this person is my guru? Because I've been through what you're saying. I've went from different practices. I've been to Vipassana, I've done 10 days of meditation there, then I've been to different institutions as well, but I never really, though I learned things, after a point, I felt I don't belong here, and I've moved away from that. But how do you identify that, okay, I've finally reached, ye mera guru hai, mujhe mil gaya, that kind of a feeling.
So my earlier answer was about this part, कि मुझे मिल गया. That was how, and my entire answer was towards that. But the other aspects are there. Let me give you a different but interesting analogy to this. You want to be a martial arts expert, okay? When you look at it, somebody says that, hey, in Chennai there's this amazing super martial arts institution that's come up, and its style is Gojukan style, for example. You go there, there's a master, all right, and there are say 200 students. That master may have his own set of supervisors or the next rung of teachers. You may not know the master, but you may not be even keen to know because you're more keen to know the techniques. So that's one way of looking at that part. That somebody told me that he attended, no names here, a particular institution where he learned the techniques of deep breathing. Okay, let's call it an ABC institute. He doesn't know the guru, but he knows the breathing techniques. Who taught him? The guru, indirectly, directly. Somebody went to a pravachan. Okay, it was in a vast, it's like a, what do you call, a maidan, what do you call, a ground, and there were 10,000 people. He was one of the 10,000, and there was this amazingly solidly wise entity sitting there. And for 1 hour, that entity, you know uh, delivered the discourse on how to be a better person spiritually. It's an example I'm giving you there. That one from the 10,000 came home, and he told me that he learned three lovely pearls of wisdom. But does that make him so? He's still the guru, but not the guru that you said at the end. So that intimacy part is sorry, subjective. Did he learn? Did he add value to his life, to um, his yeah, yes, he did. But does he now claim that he's my guru and all? I don't know, because I don't think he'll again go. He may not, but the guru shishya that I'm talking about is very different. I describe it as, when you find a mother, then all the others become the aunts. So you love your aunties. Go have the food there. They'll call you. They'll make lovely idli sambar because you're from Chennai. I'm going to, and I also hopefully will have something here as well. But mummy is mummy. Huh? So when you know who's your mummy, you know a child will know that my mother is my mother. Can you ask the child, how do you know? Batao. You can't. You can't, right? It's emotions, and emotions can't be articulated. Similarly, when you feel an emotion, you'll know.
Right. Amazing. You spoke about Kailash and Mansarovar. And again, I'm looking forward to visit Kailash in 2023. It has been maybe bucket list is not the right word, but it has been there for several years. So let's talk a little bit about that. What has been your experience of Kailash? I've somewhere also heard you speak about you seeing some alien entities during your time there. So can you talk a little bit about that? The reason I'm asking this is a lot of people look at it as trekking towards that, or maybe look at it as a very beautiful place. Of course, it is. There is no doubt, but not many people realize the magnitude of Kailash in terms of the spiritual value it adds to you.
Correct, correct. You asked me a question which has has the potential for hopefully a solidly deep answer. Because, so how would I start is by saying that Kailash Manasarovar, they reside in the among the other Himalayan mountains, or in in that region. And for people who love nature, which I think most of us do, it's the word beautiful is an understatement. It's beyond beauty. You just are completely shocked by the the depth of beauty. You're shocked by the silence, um, that you feel even through the sounds of the breeze. Still, you feel the silence. I think I felt it when I was looking into the Manasarovar. It just takes. I'm actually right there right now. You have awakened that memory of it. It's just superb. You can't. I'm falling short of words, really. So, to all the viewers, pardon me for repetitive adjectives like amazing, superb, because I don't know what other words I can use. But one thing I can tell you, it's thought transforming kind of an experience. I'll get to the lights, the beings later, because that's not that important, to be frank. But I'll come to that. But what's more important is, for somebody who loves Mother Nature is one part, but for somebody who is even, to some extent, spiritually keen or awakened, who wants to know something more, or who's a spiritual adventurer like me, you love it. You love it. The mountains, I've always felt that stones have life, and a mountain is again part of that earth. It is true, isn't it? Because we are part of the Pancha Mahabhutas. So when you get to the Himalayan mountains, or when you see the Kailash, which looks completely different compared to the other mountain peaks there, it's um, it's believe you see it, but you find it very difficult to believe that yeah, this is there in front of you, and such shocks, they have an impact on every particle inside your body. I feel the word rejuvenation takes a different, it goes to a different level altogether. It takes a whole new meaning. And then when you do your japa there, like my guru would say, that he would ask, are you doing a japa? It's not easy because it's at a height of typically 15 to 17,000 or 16,000 feet above sea level. So it is difficult to even breathe properly. And yet, my guru would insist, do your japa, because you will see its results when you go back. And that's true. Because the impact of the chanting of the japa there, the impact is very different. And it's true, because even if you look at it logically, your mind is at such a state, your brain functioning is at such a state, your spiritual inquisitiveness or spirituality as such is at such a different space, and then you use the motor of your japa, then the result is going to be very different. I also would chant there. I remember when I was walking back to the tent from, or when I was at the Manasarovar, um, because I love chanting, thanks to my guru's inspiration, I chanted this particular one, and it really impacted me so much. Can I chant it here?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to. I was about to ask you.
So when I was there at the Manasarovar, seated, and interestingly, there was nobody from the group that we were. Maybe it was getting a little dark. It was getting twilightish, and I chanted, "Om Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum Nache Devo न खलु कुशलस्पन्दितुमपि अतस्त्वामाराध्याम् हरिहरविरिञ्चादिभिरपि प्रणौतुं स्तोतुं वा कथमकृतपुण्यः प्रभवति ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So, I think I was actually there for some time. I could really feel it there. I was.
I could even feel the meaning of it. It's so beautifully written that
It's by
this
Adi
existence is
Shankaracharya.
Adi Shankaracharya. This is, I think, this is part of
Saundarya
Saundarya
Lahari.
Lahari, and this also meaningfully says that all these things, the union and the Vedas, I mean, this existence is there even before the creation of Vedas, and I bow to you, mother, and I don't even know if I'm qualified for this.
Yeah, yeah. And it's an adulation and adoration of the Shakti, Shiva Shakti, the Shakti and the Shiva both. But coming to your question, it's all this. It um, motivates you to a different level to also do something that I did is ask questions. What am I doing? You have these people saying questions, right? Which are typically, who am I? What am I here for? When you go there, the intensity of those questions again go to a different level. And then you start literally asking and finding answers. Is my that time I thought, is my life going to be waking up at 7 with a artificial smile on my face later, boarding the train to go to Andheri station, getting out, standing in a queue for the BST bus to board that bus, and then finally, after like 1 hour, 20 minutes or whatever from my house, reach the office, all sweaty and etc., and then say, "Good morning, everybody." I said, I'm tired of that. So I would get those thoughts in Mumbai, but I would just swallow those thoughts because I didn't have the guts or the strength to really then say, what can I do other than that?
Right.
But when I went to Kailash Mansarovar, the levels of frustrations through what I was as a life that normally people will be chilled out, okay, yaar, wo to sab log karte hain, like everybody does it. But for me, when I went to Kailash, and I can't take it anymore. I'm done.
Right.
I'm done. So if I'm done, then what?
Yeah.
That's when those places, those energies, uh, it all comes together because you're so earnestly seeking options for your life.
Yeah.
And then creative ideas start getting taking birth.
The paintings behind you, for
Yeah,
instance.
exactly. I never even had touched a color pencil. I mean, I would do that because I had to in school, right?
Yeah.
Biology, paint a butterfly and all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would do that just because I don't say I hated to sketch, but I knew I wasn't good. And I come back from Kailash and all these things open up here. I started writing poetry. One of my first poems was The Lonely Little Pond because I was stuck in a train while going from Mumbai to Mangalore during the monsoons for Chaturmasa, the
Okay.
four time zones in which the Guru
Yeah.
performs Chaturmasa, the pujas,
Yeah.
etc. So I went
Yeah.
there. So I was stuck because one of the bogies derailed here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, because there are some parts in the south where there used to be landslides.
Yes.
Of course, nothing major happened, but I could feel that screech, the engine and the our bogie. So we were stuck, right? And it was monsoon, so I was just sitting and I saw this puddles of small little ponds that were created because of the heavy rains. And I thought to myself, what would be that pond thinking? You know, so the lonely little pond and its life.
While others panic, you were creating.
That's again because of the repercussions of positive frustrations, which were addressed in Kailash Mansarovar.
Right.
But yeah, that's what it does. And when I'm speaking like this, I have to be subjective, Yaag, because I can't. It's not an objective type of a question answer session. So I'm just
Yeah.
sharing this. I hope our
Yeah.
viewers won't mind my detailing of this. Like I said,
They would love it.
it has a potential to be a very deep kind of an answer. And yes, some things I also experienced, but I wanted to understand that it's very personal to me. I hadn't shared this with anybody, even in the group
Right.
at Kailash. Nobody, because these are things which you can't even understand. But I always believed in it. I believed that, and I still believe, of course, that we are not alone. It's like a multiverse here as well. There are different realms of vibrations.
Yeah.
People call it booth. People will call it paranormal. People will call it spirits. But it's true. Again,
Yeah.
names given by people.
Right.
And so there are instances where if you are there at that time, because I was there a couple of times when there was nobody, I did see lights flashing and Sometimes you are wondering whether it's my own hallucination, because you can hallucinate, because we were
Yeah,
on Diamox pills and all. So could be that. Like some viewer may say, yes, that's what happened. Maybe, maybe, but this is my experience.
yeah. It's not AMS. It's not AMS, acute mountain syndrome. They say while yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know it isn't, but I'm very chilled out about it because I can't force it on others that many I did see and all. I know.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I know what I saw, and that's
yeah,
important. And
yeah.
I know that there are beings
Right.
that come in to take a dip in the Manasarovar. Like we went to take a dip. Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, all these lovely rivers, they all start from the Himalayas, right?
Yes.
And then you have the Manasarovar in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
And it's what does what properties are there in that water that it's very difficult even for scientists to find out, because where
Right.
science ends, spirituality
Spirituality
starts.
begins. Yes.
So, and therefore the other beings also come.
Yeah.
Now they come in different ways. Now there are other uh, things that are spoken about, that in the Himalayas there are certain places where alien spaceships have come and landed, because that's very conducive for them to come. I believe in that. I
Right.
believe in that. But again, the depiction of alien spaceships is what our imagination has created, and
Right.
especially to impact the audiences.
Yeah.
Like I said in one of my podcasts, we have been led to believe that aliens look in a particular way. My point is that we still have not reached a point to come to even 1% level of confidence to say we know something about alien beings. We don't.
Yeah.
1% is still a lot, though. So I did experience, and there are others who have as well. Um, but it's better that one goes there and experiences the other dimensions, the other aspects of the Himalayas, especially Kailash
Yeah.
and the Manasarovar. And you come back, like when you're not well and when you are given a medicine, you may not know the processing of the medicine inside, right? But something is happening.
Yeah.
Somebody has indigestion or stomach ache and all, and the doctor says, Baba, ye le lo. Or you just
Yeah.
know that you want to have a
Yeah.
particular medicine, you go to the
Yeah.
chemist shop. You don't know what's going to happen, but you know one thing, that the problem will be resolved.
Yeah.
The pain will fade away.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you go to Kailash and Mansarovar, some things happen through the confluence of what I said, mantra
Yeah.
japa, connecting with the Kailash, visualization, etc.,
Yeah.
chantings. They're like the pill. They get
Right.
inside you, processing starts. You
Right.
may not know what's happening, but you may also, because it'll manifest itself in different things. So I have to say this to you. My career of training started after I came back from Kailash.
Oh, really?
Yes, my way of my oratory skills, if I had a little bit, it was okay, because when you're in sales, you blabber a lot. But the way it was coming out later, not immediately, right? It takes time. My painting uh, my dive into painting was also because of one thing. I wanted to bring it out on a canvas. What? Mountains. I wrote poetry on nature, because the biggest pond on earth is Manasarovar. It's called a lake.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
lonely little pond was inspired by Manasarovar.
Yes.
Ki even that pond may be thinking, "Mujhe bhi jana." I also want to go and meet that biggest pond on earth. So my way of thinking changed. I
Right.
started connecting with forms of nature which are presumed to be not having life, but they do have life. So it's all this that happened, which is why I tell people, go once
Yeah.
and go there and spend time in doing something that's spiritual. Amazing thing that happened, this is about me, is at Manasarovar my guru would perform Shiva Pujan, Guru Pujan, Devi Pujan on the banks of Manasarovar.
Wow.
So just imagine the impact of that on all of us, and then how it would be, how we would bring it back. So I also want to say that I don't want to speak for everybody, because there were 90 people in the group. Somebody asked me once, what about them? Did they also start painting? I can't answer that. If you've been, how much medicine you taken inside, I don't know. The doctor has given it to you, but have you put it inside? Or if the doctor says take the medicine, but refrain from eating spicy food. No, 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 whatever, whatever, ta, 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 ta. If you follow that, then the ache will go away.
Yeah.
So somebody may have taken the medicine, but still doing things, right?
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking. So I don't
That's
know
true.
the impact on others, but I can only speak for myself that listening to the guru performing the puja there against the backdrop of the mountains and at a distance the Kailash and my guru,
Yeah.
the yogi performing and we chanting, repeating the chants after him.
Yeah.
Look at that confluence.
One example that I'm reminded of while you're talking about different people, different experiences, I've read in so many places where people say that when you spend time in Kerala, Kailash, you kind of age fast. And looking at you, and yesterday you said you are 50. I'm like, really? You look probably somewhere between 30 to 35. And maybe that's also one of the impacts.
I think so. I was asked in another podcast about it, and like I said, impacts are different. I don't want to say that if somebody says to you in another podcast, for example, that oh, like I grew older very quickly. Well, maybe I have no idea, but at least, like I say, it's about me. This podcast is about me being on your show. So I have a theory or a logic to this, which is not supernatural. It's very simple. When you think with excitement, when you address crisis with positivity, or make an effort to be positive about it, and when you live a life with a philosophy, which is marinated in spirituality, I think aging automatically stops because the childlike aspect just bubbles inside, bubbling inside.
I like the choice of words, marinated in spirituality. Wow.
Yeah, that's because I love pickles, right? And life is a pickle of sorts.
Yes.
But to be more specific, I or anybody who goes there, and if certain things happen, I take it as a prasad and I put it at my guru's feet.
Yeah.
But sometimes looking younger, okay, I mean, thank you for that, also has its difficulties. So when there was this vaccination drive, right, when the pandemic was going on, initially they said only people above 45. And so when I went to the center, the guy who was there, these people who are helping out, go there, go here, he was like, what are you like, aap kyun aaye hain, politely, aap, he just looked like that, I said vaccination, ये above 45 के लिए है, it's for people above 45. So for a few seconds I didn't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult ki, like he's telling me to go back because he thought I'm cheating, like I'm
Right.
coming into the queue and I'm so I said, "Hi baba, I'm 48." So
Right.
he looked full up and down, man, scanned me like that. And there's a true story. The vaccination center is just outside my apartment,
Right.
like maybe just around 100, 200 yards away.
Yeah.
So fortunately, he didn't. He gave me some time to explain. So I said, "Baba, I'm 48," and I said, "Thank you very much. I look maybe younger." He said, "That's okay. Do you have some proof?"
Yeah.
So I had to show him my driver's license, and then he had a big smile and all. He's like, "Oh my god!" And in Marathi, he was saying, "काय? वाटत नाही." And I said, "Baba, on one side you're telling me to go and all, you're not believing me, on the other side you're complimenting me, thank you very much, I'm happy." So this is just the fun part.
Yeah.
But I think spirituality itself, if you see people who practice yoga daily sincerely,
Yeah.
you'll find that they are energetic, they're
Yeah.
exuberant, they're excited about life, and a lot of times you'll find them younger as well. The skin texture is younger.
Yeah.
I also am looking at myself right now after you said it. So I'll be celebrating my 50 years in February, Feb
Oh
13th.
wow.
I'm 1973 born. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah, yeah, I think I agree.
No, that's amazing. I really love what you're saying because in some of the things that you explained, it also shows. I get two key things out of this. One is, you know, many a times spirituality, for many people, comes across like it's some sort of a disability. They have to become quieter, they have to become like, आइए बैठिए. It's not like that. And at the same time, when you spoke about the alien entities, another, it quickly resonated with one very interesting line in your book, which says that if you think that Earth is the only place where there are living beings and living entities, then there is nobody as arrogant as you. I was like, wow, that's so true, right? So to imagine that aliens are like this, it's at least be open to the possibility. You might not know, but be open to the possibility of somebody existing, right?
Absolutely. In fact, can I say one thing to you? Is we have, like, when you say this, yes, I understand and I believe that we are not alone, and therefore why the arrogance. But hey, keep that aside. We on Earth, we think we are superior to the animals and birds, which is a misnomer. It's absolutely not true. Some things that animals can do, we can't do. Many things we can do, they can't do. I understand. Just because we can talk and communicate doesn't mean they can't communicate, right? The ants communicate far better than us, I guess. In a more structured way, they function because of the pheromone that they use to communicate.
Yeah. Bats again.
Bats, again,
Yeah.
I mean, they're blind as dark. I mean, they're completely blinded, but they can maneuver anywhere they want to go because they use what is it called? Um,
Supersonic something, I guess.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sonar, I guess.
Sonar. Yes,
Yeah,
sonar
yeah,
rays,
yeah,
and we use that now in medical, in scanning and checking how a person is, right?
yeah,
Sonar machines, etc. And then coming to your point is, we aren't alone. Yeah,
yeah,
we don't. We will not be able to find that out very soon. It will take time.
yeah,
But I don't know about others. When you go to places like the Himalayas, when you go to different certain places which are not which do not have the habitat of
yeah,
human beings,
yeah.
you might encounter. That's why you encounter some things there, because they don't want to probably even come and make themselves known to the others.
Right.
Listen, I'll conclude to this answer, to
Yeah,
this question, sorry, by
yeah,
saying that every form of existence across this unending universe, with zillions of stars, zillions of solar systems, each being, I feel, has one property or one quality, that is curiosity. Every form of existence.
yeah,
And that's what makes something like Star Trek, right?
yeah.
We all want to explore. And
Yes,
these exploratory things that happen, trips or whatever, that's what we are trying to do, isn't it? Mars, we
yes,
want to go because we want
yeah,
to explore. There are
yeah,
so many telescopes, even as we speak, looking into the skies
yeah,
and searching for,
yeah,
or asking people to entities to respond, because they're curious.
yeah,
Similarly, there is something happening from the other side, as in some other planet.
yeah.
And if they're more advanced than us, they would have connected with us.
Awesome. And since we also touched about Himalayas, we spoke about Ganga and Yamuna. I wanted to share this thing. Every time I go to the Himalayas, or say when I go to a place like Varanasi or Rishikesh, or even Haridwar, where there is Ganga, and I sit down on the banks of Ganga, it naturally brings tears in my eyes. So there's this deep connection somewhere to both of them. And this brings me to a interesting question. Like we in Tamil say Purva Janma Vasam, which is like scent of the previous birth. Um, have you experienced something like this, or do you? What are your thoughts around this? Do you think something like that exists? Does it remind you of something, or it's like the soul's memory that has been reawakened? What is actually happening there?
Very interesting question. Is it possible, or is it easy for you or me to remember when we were, or when I was 1 year old? It's difficult. Like, if you want to really think, what, like, if you actually ask yourself, when I was a year old, how was I? It'll be very tough. Even if you go through a family album and you see, for example, your mother holding you or your grandmother holding you as a 1 year old, you still will not be able to get memories getting activated inside you, because it's just not possible. Because as a law, this is my way of looking at it, Baba. There's a law that has been set, the laws of birth and death, and there are other laws, laws of spirituality. And yet, because the soul's desire to really um, awaken some things, and I bring the spiritual context here. The soul is yearning to meet the guru, okay, and the soul has, for example, lived with that guru in a different form, but when it is born as a yag or a mayur, it defies that law, and it's very ambiguous. You can't explain it. When you sit on the Ganges, on the banks of the Ganges, you don't know how to answer that question. It's as difficult, I always say, as explaining the taste of water. You can't explain that. But it is that which is the most required property, or thing, that when you're thirsty, right? You need water, but you can't explain it. So here also, the soul will send signals, I think, to your brain, and you're like, but you don't know what is happening. I feel the call of the Himalayas. I've always wanted to go to the Himalayas. I feel I feel excited at the possibility of going not just to Kedarnath, but going beyond Kedarnath, beyond or behind Kedarnath, and there is a Bhairav cave, and there are some other places, and I want to go there, and I want to sit for some time. What is making me even want to go there, or what made me even
Pursue that. Yeah.
to pursue that, or even get drawn
Right.
when my guru chanted Dakshina Sisamarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama. So something got, it's like an electric charge
Yeah.
to the soul. Utho, wake up.
Yes.
Or when I saw the picture, wake up, because that memory, it's just sending those charges to the soul.
Yeah.
And therefore, to when you sat at the Ganges, I think the soul, because you were in that environment,
Yeah.
in that setting, where it was more stronger. Getting my point?
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, if you would have seen the banks of the Ganges on a YouTube video, you may not have felt that. But,
Absolutely. Yes.
but
Yes.
being there, the soul is like, ha, I'm back. I don't want to go. That's the tears. Maybe the soul is saying to you, I don't want to go back. And
Yes.
you're like, your mind is like, why am I, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this happened, and my friend was asking me that, "Hey, why are you crying?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Because you in this body, as with the other samskaras and all, you want to go back, you want to do your
Yeah.
podcast, you want to do your work, you have a
Right.
family, but the soul is like, no, please don't stay. That's what happens, which is
Right.
why some people take sannyasa.
Mm.
That's when the soul takes over,
Right.
and it tells the mind, it's done now, you
I've
finished.
never heard anybody express sannyas in this way. Say that the soul takes over. It's like there are so many statements that I'm going to go back after this call and note down for me as a reminder. Because yeah, people say that, hey, there are different phases in life, like brahmacharya, grihastha and vanashram, and then finally you go to sannyasa. But this is like, you talk about the soul takes over, and quickly people go to the other side and say that, hey, I don't belong here, this is what I've come to do.
The intellect, the mind cannot make those. So you will find, even I've gone through a phase before my marriage, and when I was a youngster, once my guru came into my life, the mind gets also happy, because the soul is influencing it, and the mind makes this feeling that I want to take uh, sannyasa. And then the guru said to me, no. When I actually told my guru, I remember, I literally said to my guru, I want to take sannyasa, I want to go, I've
When was
understood
this?
what.
At what age?
This was when I was, I think, 20. I'll tell you. I was 26, 27. And so I told Swamiji, Swamiji looked at me, go. And there was this very solid, pregnant pause. I didn't expect that answer. And then Swamiji, of course, said, it's not that easy. And then said a few things about what it is. But that word, go, has even, yeah, it's still, like when I said it to you right now, it's just taken me there, because it was more of this feeling, intellectual feeling of vairagya, because I was reading stuff. So the mind is like shaping up like that. The soul is saying, wait. So when the soul feels the right time to take over, then it influences the mind. So both have to be, it will be a marriage of both the soul and the mind. I hope you're getting where I'm coming from. So maybe at that age, at 26, the thing was not this life. There's another thing, which is there are other things, Mayur, you need to do as well. Fulfill certain obligations of material life, etc., family life. But that thing is there. Himalayas, I want to go, want to meet yogis. I feel one of my lives I have led as a as an ascetic, or as a sannyasi, as a yogi. Otherwise, why that pulya?
Does it happen back and forth, like say somebody goes into this is just my inquisitiveness coming out, so pardon me if the question doesn't make sense. What I'm asking is, let's say you just described that maybe in one of the previous births you might have been a yogi or a sage, and now this, so does the swapping happen? Is that because once you go to that, nobody wants to come back to the normal materialistic life? So does this happen the other way around, or is always the final step to become that?
It could be that that probably I had to come into this life for this final life in this form, because there were two, three things that I had to do. Maybe I had to create two lives more in the form of my children. And therefore, the laws of that world are very different. They've been set in a different way. We still don't know the duration between the 2 seconds here on earth. How can we know the laws that are beyond this? So we can only, sort of infer a few things. Physics is again based on assumptions, right? You do all the calculations based on certain assumptions, which is great. But the laws of physics are not, what we know here are not the end of it. It's the beginning of another huge university of physics. If I studied mathematics in my fifth standard, and if I claim that because I've studied mathematics in the fifth standard, that's it, I'm a mathematician, that's what is happening here
Right,
in the world. The
right,
God particle and all, that's still the fifth standard.
right.
They have to go to 10th standard, do the graduation, then do the PhD. There's so much.
Yeah,
And maybe certain civilizations which are alien to us on different planets may have also, they're all on the same journey, Baba.
yeah.
So they say that there was a pralaya, there was, everything ended and now it's again started. So maybe thousands or millions of years ago, we may have been able to unlock the other laws of physics beyond. We realized, and through the yogis we realized that fifth standard is not the end. There's more.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many things, right? I mean, how
Yeah,
would yogis knew the earth is round long time before some
yeah,
great scientist or whoever, astronomer, said that
yeah,
the earth is round? Because
yeah,
there was a time when earth was supposed to be flat, right?
yeah. No, even I see some examples, in my daily life. For instance, I do Sandhya Vandan morning and evening, and we do this Om Bhuha, which is actually talking about the seven layers above
Om bhu,
Earth.
om bhuvaha, om swaha, om maha, om janaha, om tapaha, om satyam.
Yeah, the seven layers, and science has identified only about three or four. And then there is also, they talk about there are seven lower layers, which goes up to Pathala, and that is not yet discovered by science. And this is why, your book, when it said the end of science is where spirituality begins, it really hit me.
It's so true. I mean, sometimes it could be also a cliched statement from other people's perspective, like, yeah, yeah, I've heard it. But it's so true. Like I said, I don't know how people will take this. I'm repeating this. Is tell me seriously, and I really think about it, is time and the measurement of it is somebody's decision. On which basis day and night has been given that duration of 24 hours? If it was 1, 2, 3, okay, or if it was to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the duration between the seconds I'm talking about is what creates a minute, an hour. So why is it 1 tick tick 2 tick tick 3 tick tick 4? Why is it not 1 tick tick 2? Because if that happens, then the day increases.
Yeah.
I I know I'm confusing. I hope I'm not confusing others, because I'm confused. I hope I'm not confused. Because but these are lovely foods for thought.
This also connects back to your book, where you speak about people breathing slowly so that they can live 5,000 years. Directly
Absolutely.
connects to that.
Yeah, but it's true. If you
Yeah.
hold your breath for 10 hours and your one breath is 10 hours, your
Yeah.
lifespan is different.
Yes.
If I have met a yogi who has these mastered, or he's developed the mastery over his lungs, just like a fish is able to live beneath the water,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't have to come up and unless it's a whale, right? It's an
Yeah.
amphibian
Yeah.
or a mammal. But a fish is very happy. There are certain organisms, or you call it sea creatures,
Yeah.
that live far, far beneath the ocean, yeah, where
Yeah.
you can't. The pressures are so much that man can't go unless they go in a vehicle which is created.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're able to, and those creatures, if you see, and there are some videos on that, they look so different. So they say that science, because this is also part of science, right? The biological science,
Yeah.
bioscience. There are so many creatures which are yet to be discovered,
Right.
and therefore we are still not only in the fifth standard, we probably are in the third standard,
Right.
and there's so much to go. But yes,
Yeah.
it's beautiful to be curious. It's beautiful
Yeah.
to explore.
Yeah.
I'm not a big mathematics student, but I like the philosophy of mathematics.
Right.
Ramanujan is the one who inspired me to look at the philosophy. Ramanujan said that he got these formulas and the calculations as a blessing of Devi.
Yeah.
Now, who's the Devi? The Devi is an alien entity, not that alien, whatever,
Yeah.
an
Not
alien
the
being.
way we imagine aliens to be.
Yes, there are angels. There are entities who are far more advanced, who've reached not the third or fifth standard. They probably are now knocking on PhDs. And they must have felt Ramanujan's earnestness to solve certain theorems or etc.
Yeah.
They must have given it, because he says that.
Yeah.
It came to him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, amazing, amazing. So this, also, maybe I might be going a little on a tangent here to ask this question. We spoke about spirituality. We spoke about, you know, different kinds of lives. But is it possible to seek and grow spiritually at the same time, kind of also be pleasantly materialistic?
Of course. Absolutely. In fact, the if you're if you're on the right path of spirituality, where you practice maybe your japa, when you do your breathing practices, when you visualize energies that are positive inside you, and for me spirituality is at the core becoming a good human being, and that happens when you're influenced by the qualities of a shiva or a shakti, and by guru. It makes you more successful in your professional pursuits or your educational pursuits. For example, a student wrote to me on Instagram that after hearing the beer biceps podcast, which is doing like very well, and students are also watching it, and that's amazing. That's why I really genuinely appreciate what Ranveer does. Ranveer Alabadia, who's the founder of Beer Biceps, he talks about such subjects in a way that people can easily understand. And so this student wrote to me that when he heard my chantings on that podcast, whatever, like he was very inspired, and he learned it. In fact, I had sent him a recording on Instagram, and you know what he said? He said he brought a Shiva statue, or a small little statue of Shiva, kept it on his study table, and he would chant, and it would make him more focused on his studies. In some way, spirituality intensified his focus. So if spirituality intensifies focus, your professional pursuits also will be enhanced, because in whatever you do, you'll be more focused. And yes, more outwardly, when people say, "Hey, you're spiritual. Why are you desiring for a Mercedes car?" Like, your spiritual means you should not have that. No, you can. When to go to Kailash Mansarovar, I had to cough up almost 1 lakh rupees, which is
Yeah.
materialistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's because we are living in this world. These are the laws we have to abide by.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a temple today, you have to fill up petrol or diesel or whatever, or charge
Yes.
your car and go. Or you have to, when you want to board get an auto rickshaw to take you. Oh, you're spiritual. Please don't pay me, sir. It's okay. It doesn't happen that way. So
Right.
I have seen in my life, spirituality has made me far more aspirational about
Mm.
whatever that I do, which is so called materialistic.
Yeah.
Yes, what spirituality in fact does, which is beautiful, is it makes you balance between aspiration and greed.
Mm.
It makes you want to do things in the right way. So if you are in a position where, for example, there are possibilities to get bribed, spirituality will make you stop it.
Right.
But if you're not spiritual and if you're just materialistic, then those
Everything
values won't
goes.
happen.
Right. Right.
So are you getting my point?
Yeah.
And therefore it's a good question, because it's a message to all the people who are watching as a friend.
Yeah.
Is I just bought myself a new phone here. I just picked up some time back a Mac Pro. So am I materialistic? Yeah, but it's helping me to do this podcast in a much better way.
Yeah.
So it is beautiful. Again, people have just thrown wrong connotations to the word materialistic. It's just how people have created this thing. Oh, don't
Right.
be materialistic. It's okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What is materialistic? Material is three-dimensional something.
Yeah.
Car, this, that. So what if
Yeah.
you have it? But my point is, the more you get spiritual, the more you will use the materials in the right way.
Mm.
You'll make proper choices.
Right.
So I wouldn't really buy a Mercedes car paying whatever 45, 50, 60 lakhs.
Yeah.
Spirituality will give you the wisdom to say that if you want to have a car, get a decent car maybe of 14, 15 lakhs. Why you
Yeah.
want to spend 60 lakhs on a Mercedes car? What is
Right.
the utility? Get a good
Right.
car. Maybe you want to travel across, get a SUV for maybe 25, 30 lakhs. Or
Right.
maybe, so that maybes and all will happen. The processing
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And yes, I conclude by saying that the more, eventually, the more you get spiritual, intrinsically you start feeling, I don't need this now. Remember I told you about a little earlier about that managing director story where
Yes.
he finally he leaves everything.
Yeah.
That will come at a point, because when you reached a level of happiness where no car, no Mac Pro and all will help you. See, Mac Pro and all I'm using because it's utility based, so that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are yogis who use a mobile phone because it's utility.
Yeah.
So does that mean that they're materialistic? Not really. So it's a very beautiful line that one has to draw. But there comes a time where some yogis, they give up everything because they just find it's all childish. It's okay. Today, Yag, you have a child. Like my children are now, Arun is 16 and Malvika is 13. If tomorrow somebody comes in from the US and says, "Hey, I got some chocolates for you,"
Yeah.
I won't even look at it for a second and say, "Okay, grand, thank you." because I've lost my interest in chocolates, which I
Right.
had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used to cry for chocolates. Now I cry, why are you giving me chocolates? Now,
Right.
use the same analogy with spirituality and materialism. Materialism is a chocolate,
Yeah.
and we are craving, not craving, there are people who are craving. To them, I
Yeah.
say, get spiritual. So the
Right.
craving goes away, you only look at the utility. Okay. So
Right.
somebody says, hey, I want to have a chocolate because it helps, because when my sugar levels are low, I eat a chocolate.
Right.
So utility, chocolate becomes utility.
Yeah.
And
It
then
becomes a yantra there.
it becomes a yantra.
Yeah.
And that's how, at a point, you reach where you don't even need a chocolate. You develop the mastery of internally increasing the sugar levels.
Right. Self-sufficiency.
Yeah. So there are yogis who live in the Himalayas. There are yogis who also play the role of a parivrajakacharya, like my guru.
Right.
If my guru has to travel and spread the words of wisdom, spiritual wisdom, today, if my guru says, I will walk everywhere, it's not practical, right?
Yeah.
Because if my guru has to come to Mumbai and do give an ashirvachan or a pravachan,
Mhm.
it has to be through quick travel, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Right. Let's also, yeah, it's very, very interesting because, as you rightly said, I can listen to you for entire day and still my curiosity will give me more questions, but that's amazing. But I have a couple of very interesting ones. One is I would like to know, because I've been to Varanasi quite a bit and I'm probably again going to be traveling there in January. I'd love to understand the difference between Aghoris and Naga Babas. To me, they look the same. Both have ash all over their body, and to me they look very, very similar. Maybe I'm not as aware of the difference. And for all the people who are listening and watching this, if you can enlighten us on the difference between the two.
There are different types of sadhus in that. One type is the Aghori sadhu, then there is the Naga sect of sadhus, there's the Dattatreya sect,
Yeah.
who believe in Datta. There are certain sadhus you will not even, when you see them, they're normal people like us. And they're also sadhu, as in, by definition,
Mm.
the one who does sadhana, who meditates and acquires, absorbs more wisdom and spreads it.
Yeah.
They live simple, normal life, right? And yet they have so much to influence people with spiritually.
Right.
Coming back to your specific question, this is only to a caveat, like there are different types of sadhus, not
Yeah.
just Naga sadhus or Aghori sadhus. There are Tibetan monks, for example, right?
Yeah.
Within the Tibetan monks, there are different sects as well.
Lamas and all the others.
Yeah,
Right.
Rinpoches are there,
Yeah.
different. And they're all, of course, towards the same,
Yeah.
merging with the light. Coming to your specific question, Aghori sadhus and Naga sadhus, their external disposition is almost the same.
Right.
They are Shiva Bhakts, as in they ardently follow Shiva.
Yeah.
The difference is not in the way they look. The difference is not in the way they talk. They're very similar. The difference is in the practice of the techniques of meditation.
Right.
From what I have researched or understood, and there's more, is Naga sadhus are more into Hatha yoga.
Mm.
Hatha is stubbornness. So they take, this is what I got to learn from when I met some of them to understand,
Yeah.
is they will take a sankalpa,
Mm.
a promise, a sankalpa,
Yeah. Yeah.
that for n number of days, weeks, months, years, they will do something which will give their body the trouble, but they will continue because that is the way they'll conquer pain, and they'll win over the will.
Right.
Like they'll have the willpower which is more powerful than anybody
Mm.
by practicing it. So if you go to these the Kumbh Mela, for example, where you see a lot of Naga sadhus,
Yeah.
you'll find some of them standing with the hand up, and he has been standing for years because he has taken the sankalpa or the pratidnya or the promise that for 21 years I will keep this hand standing throughout, even
Wow.
through the 24 hours, through the days, the weeks, the months, the years, till 21 years. So you'll see, I saw one yogi who was doing that. His hand had, this part had become almost like a skeleton, just
Wow.
bones, because there was nothing going up, no blood circulation.
Yeah.
And yet, because, see, through this, like they say, visualization, my hand was just there for some time, I just realized. So, through visualization, you can activate energies. Even through this kind of sadhana, they
Mm.
can activate. That's why they're able to.
Yeah.
So, that's the Nagas. They, of course, there will be other things that they do,
Yeah.
which we are not privy to.
Right.
All yogis meditate, right?
Yeah.
A lot of meditation is to do with chantings internally. I'm not saying all of it, maybe most of it. Maybe if I said all of it, I'm not sure.
Right.
They do chant.
Yeah.
So that's about Nagas, Yaag. It's
Yeah.
a lot of hatha. Nagas also have akhadas. They have their own families, not family in the way we understand, like
Lineage
a
of sorts.
group,
Group. Okay.
akhada. And there are many akhadas of Naga sadhus.
Okay.
And that akhada has a main Naga sadhu as a leader.
Right.
And so you're initiated into that. Now, coming to the Aghori sadhus, a lot of what I said is also true.
Right.
They also do a bit, they also have the aspect of Hatha Yoga, but more than Hatha Yoga, they are practitioners of Tantra Yoga.
Mm.
They do certain things which people think is black magic and all, they don't. Of course,
Yeah.
it can be misused by some.
Right.
Some of
Yeah.
the Aghori sadhus, see, it's all growing, growing, growing. Some people, they are very happy here because they have the power to do something, they misuse it, they come down.
Yeah.
Because when you have a lot of power and things and somebody says, please help, this guy is troubling me, do something. And if the mind, if the agori sadhu or any sadhu with that power is not able to control the temptation to do that,
Mm.
and they don't do it for money as much as the importance that they get, I
Right.
could do something, which
Yeah.
is worse because power corrupts, right?
Yeah.
So in agori sadhus, they practice tantra yoga.
Mhm.
You'll find a lot of it in my book as well.
Yeah.
So so they use that a lot more.
Yeah.
Vidhis that they do, kriyas that they do. There's one where the Aghori sadhu uh, sits on the corpse of a young person on the banks of the Ganges at Kashi, sorry,
Yeah.
at Kashi and Varanasi. I
Yeah.
think Varanasi and Kashi got together, so Vashi.
Right.
So at Varanasi, and they practice some things, which also
Right.
include invoking energies,
Yeah.
which happens with certain vibrations that they
Yeah.
create through their chantings or through the bells
Right.
or through collective chanting. They
Right.
use the Panchamahabhutas, especially the Agni.
Mm.
And because I've actually sort of met and understood these more, I know more of it.
Yeah.
Naga Babas or sadhus, how much ever I know, they're more into, they're more aggressive and more ferocious. They're also warrior sadhus, they're known as. And
Oh.
they've done that, and they are very strong about this region that we are part of.
I thought Aghoris are the ones who are more ferocious. This is news to me.
That's a misconception. Agoris are ferocious. If you, it's like if you stamp on a snake, what will a snake do? It'll bite you.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't stamp on it, but if you see a snake and if the snake sees you and it's too close for the snake, I'm talking about a cobra, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
raise its head
Right.
and it'll say, please stay away. So
Right.
Aghori sadhus, how I know them, is they're not aggressive, they're very assertive. They can be very aggressive if you try and mess with them. In the book, you know what happens when
Yes.
somebody
Yes.
throws stones.
Yes.
I know of this incident that happened where there was a photographer who had a fight with an Aghori. because
Oh my
the
God.
Aghori did not want to be clicked, and he clicked, and it didn't happen in the right way as well. And the guy was from the north, and then he gave some bad words to the Aghori. See, Aghoris, they look chata, they don't really,
Yeah, yeah.
they we feel they don't take care of themselves. They do, but our definition of taking care is very different.
Right.
आज shampoo lagaya maine and all that. They don't do all that stuff, man. So he must have said some bad things to the Aghori. The Aghori
Yeah,
just said, 2 days are left for you. After that, you're no more. And this guy had come for I think, sort of a spiritual thing in the
yeah,
south or in Gujarat or somewhere. I'm purposely making it ambiguous because I don't want to get into the specificities of where it happened and all that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But some people who heard that, it was like a sharp, it was like this thing.
Curse.
They went to the curse, and some people heard that and they said, please go. They told that guy, go and say sorry, yaar, what have you done? And all. Because they
Yeah,
knew.
yeah,
Uh, this guy was like, are you mad? Oh, no, 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 no. He went. And they went to the Aguri and said, please, please. He didn't know.
mm,
And that Aguri said, अभी जो बोला है वो होगा.
mm,
2 days later, he dies. It happens.
yeah,
Have you seen the movie Kantara?
yeah, yeah. Recently, you recommended it, and I saw that. Yeah,
Do you remember what happens in the initial part where one guy acts rude with that entity inside, the diver
yeah,
that is inside?
yeah, yeah.
He says, you can do whatever. He talks to that entity,
Yes.
the diver, and the diver says, okay, I'll see you at the court. And what happens at the court? I'm getting goosebumps. He dies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's what they're capable of doing. If you really do, they don't want to mingle with you. They're like the snakes, they're in their own zone. Yeah.
yeah,
You meet a king cobra, you do this, whatever it does, it goes. You try to mess with the king cobra, it'll come and either they'll scare you to death, man.
yeah.
So Aghoris are that way. Even Naga sadhus are that way. See, when I said warrior, I mean they were also to protect
Right.
the temples, to protect us.
Yeah,
In that sense, they're warriors. Aghoris are warriors in some other way, which is they're on a war footing to merge with Shiva.
right, right.
But the power that
Absolutely.
they have is again, we are on the fifth standard. At the fifth standard to know there's much more, which is what I think the Aghori part 2 will come in with. And
Right.
still, it'll not be the end. There's so much more.
Yeah.
The
For a
fear.
fifth standard, let's in the same path. How would you define enlightenment to a fifth standard?
Enlightenment, okay, that's a big
It's
question.
a word that's easily thrown around. Even people who have just been into spirituality or somewhere. It's a easily thrown around word,
Mhm.
and at least for me, I don't understand what it really means
Yeah.
because I've not experienced. But yeah, what could it mean?
I'll answer it in two ways. One,
Sure.
have you ever known, have you met a person who's died and come back to tell you what happens after death? Like
No.
who's died, literally died, huh?
Mm.
There are near death experiences, that's true. Like
Yeah.
somebody in the hospital, on the hospital bed,
Yeah.
you know presumed to have died for some time, comes back. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
that. Like imagine, god forbid, some known person, he's dead, okay, but somehow he manifests himself later, like after 3 4 months, and says, I'll now tell you what happens. It's impossible.
Right.
You can't explain what happens after death. We make presumptions, which is
Yeah.
cool. Yogis have understood it, because they, but they will not reveal, because we'll get all shocked and confused and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it's a law of nature. We are not supposed to know that.
Yeah.
Like I say, death is a portal through which the soul goes into another body.
Yeah.
I feel I'm convinced with that answer, and it excites me. Not to
Yeah.
take my life, Baba, but it excites me to know that it isn't. It's again what people have made it, right? Death, and
Yeah.
it's true, because when a person dies, people around will miss the person. I'm sure that person will miss as well, but
Yeah.
only for some time. Similarly, enlightenment. A person who's enlightened cannot explain, because it goes beyond words. I feel. Again, I'm making presumptions based on my
Yeah.
understanding after listening to my guru or other some of the people. But they will, those who are enlightened, okay, they will come in a form, a human form of a earth,
Mm.
to tell us how to reach that point.
Right.
But they will never tell you what it is, because probably even they, by the law, will not want to tell you. Because an ice cream is sweet, but only when you eat the ice cream you'll enjoy the sweetness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if somebody if that guru, enlightened one, tells you, you'll intellectually feel okay, but you won't really experience it.
It becomes intellectual entertainment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why this whole journey through lives is happening for us.
Mm.
For us, our life of 80 years, presumably 75, 80 years,
Yeah.
for example, is minuscule. We think it is 80 years. From another perspective, it is just one day.
Yeah.
This is one day. You're living one day, which is 80 years. Imagine
Yeah.
that mathematics of it.
It's lesser than a tortoise.
Yeah. And I look at, say, my guru as someone who, that entity who has come for us to help us understand the ways towards enlightenment
Right.
through bhakti yoga, you know, that kind of stuff, through mantra japa.
Yeah.
My guru knows, my guru is enlightened, but my guru will never, it's not like, okay, now I'll tell you, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I mean, they can, but they won't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what's the
We
fun?
have to also be evolved to understand that.
Even exactly. The other part is we may not even be able to digest. We'll go in a different shock. Oh my God, types.
Right.
But if I can say at the conclusion of as a response to this question, a state of emotion where there is no emotion, there is no happiness, there is no sorrow, there is no time, there is no space, there is no cause, in that sthiti is
Yeah.
enlightenment. And we don't know, we'll never
What
know.
it feels.
Like,
Yeah.
because a person reaches there's no person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today
Amazing.
we are all taking forms to go from fifth standard, sixth standard. We are all taking forms. Maybe
Yeah.
if I'm in fifth standard, metaphorically, if I have to go to the sixth, it may not be in a human form.
Right.
It may be that I take a birth in a different on a different planet, which is a little more advanced spiritually.
Yeah.
I talk about this in my book Adventures of Purna, which is a different book, 550 pages of how they travel to different planets. There's one planet in that book, in that story, which has mountains which are 10,000 feet higher than Himalaya, than Kailash.
Wow. I'm gonna pick it
And
up today.
there Shiva also travels, because I look at Shiva as a traveler. Like how my guru travels in India and
Yeah.
on earth,
Yeah.
there are certain travelers who probably even travel interstellar,
Right.
spreading the same.
Yeah.
It's like, it's, how would I put it? Director sales, okay, who looks at the overall,
Yeah.
regional sales,
Yeah.
who looks at a state,
Yeah.
and then there are sales managers who look at territories.
Territories. Yes.
Imagine Shiva is a director sales, and then director reports to MD. I don't know who the MD is.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. This is awesome. I have one. I know. You spent a lot of time, but I have one last question that I want to ask. This is probably very useful for all of us. How do we realize where we are, in terms of our spiritual growth? Sometimes, we again, going back to this metaphor of fifth standard, sixth standard. To know that I'm in fifth, I know that, okay, to get to sixth standard, this is what I need to do. So can we at all realize where we stand?
First, to be in the fifth standard, first to say that I know I'm in fifth, you need to be in a school, right?
Yes.
Because you can't stand on a road and say I'm in fifth standard. Like, I have to be in a school. So the school is the school is the is, I think, the atmosphere of spirituality. Um, the school is where, again, I connected to your past life where your soul has lived. It makes you realize that there is something that you're drawn to which is spiritual. For example, um, when you listen to a kid, you may want to. play a particular bhajan for a longer time. You may probably, um, like when you go to a temple, you may sit there for a time, not realizing why. Okay, and you're still a kid. You may There are a lot of kids you see, they want to go to a temple. What is pulling? That's the school part. Then I think there are teachers who come in. For example, there would be a teacher who in school talks about God, not God, I mean, not in that sense God, but who, for example, prayer sessions. When you go through a prayer session in school, an assembly, so you are literally feeling that something is there, and these things are like pills, they act upon you inside. But finally I feel, to your question, the answer would be to have a guru, and to have a lovely connection with that guru. um, that is that guru shishya relationship which will really give you the clarity, because that hand holding is required, and the guru will take you. A ship without a sail in an ocean is still directionless, but still it could be the best ship on earth. But so the guru is that sail, it guides. But if a ship doesn't know it's a ship, that's worse.
Right. This is
And
so
that
beautiful.
and that ship, knowing its true nature, it's a ship, it should be in the ocean again, is connected to the past life.
Right.
Something has to happen, because there are so many ships who are on land.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they will not even know what this is going on. Like, what is going on here? Kuch ata pata nahi hai, right? So it's from there, from even getting into a school.
Right. Where do you get these examples? It like hits you right on the forehead, it's like, wow. To realize that it's a ship, and to realize that you need to be in a school to know where you are. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Mayur, we covered so much. Thank you so much. It's been such a privilege. Thank you for spending such an amount of time and being so gracious. I can't thank you enough. I'm indebted to you. So all I can say is Har Har Mahadev. Thank you
Har
so
Har
much.
Mahadev. Can I conclude this session? Firstly, I want to thank you so much, because the reason I've kept this without too much of a time restriction is because I felt that you really have genuinely a lot of questions that I think were bubbling inside you, and you wanted to put it up. And you also were a wonderful listener. You gave me the time to explain things using different kinds of metaphors, and I enjoyed my conversations with you. I hope the viewers, I'm sure the viewers will also uh, have different seeds of thought being planted through this podcast, which will sprout in more, more explanations getting unfolded, answers getting unfolded later on in their mind. But to them, to all the viewers, to all of you, and to you, Yag, I want to say thank you by reciting a shloka. Om जागृत्स्वप्नसुषुप्तिषु स्फुटतराया संविदुजृम्भ्रते या ब्रह्मादिपिपीलिकान्तुतनुषु प्रोता जगत्साक्षिणी सैवाहं न च दृश्यवस्थितदृढप्रज्ञापि यस्यास्ति चेत् चाण्डालोऽस्तु स तु द्विजोऽस्तु गुरुरित् येषा मनीषा मम ॐ जागृद्बोधसुधामयूखनिचयैः आप्लाव्य सर्वाधीशो यस्या कापि कला कलङ्करहिता षट्चक्रमाक्रामति दैनध्वान्तविदारणैकचतुरा वाचं परान्तन्वति सा नित्यां भुवनेश्वरी विहरतां हंसीव मन्मानसे ॐ जटाकटाहि सम्भ्रमन् भ्रमन् निलिम्प निर्झरि विलोल्लवीचि वल्लरी विराजमानमूर्धनि धगत् 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 ज्वलल्ललाटपट्टपावके किशोरचन्द्रशेखरे रति प्रतीक्षणं मम कदा निलिम्पनिर्झरी निकुञ्जकोटरे वसन् विमुक्तदुर्मतिः सदा शिरस्तमञ्जलिं वहम् विमुक्तलोललोचलोललामभाललग्नकः शिवेति मन्त्रमुच्चरन् कदा सुखीं भवाम्यहम्। ॐ ॐ ॐ ॐ शांति शांति शांति।
I was about to, somewhere request you towards the end, because you spoke about Jata. I wanted to request you those two
There
lines
is
from.
there is one which is, if you don't mind me, this is one of my,
Yeah,
what should I say, life transforming stotras. It's of surrender. In fact, I have it on here.
sure,
It's
sure.
I've embedded as a tattoo. It's what my guru says while performing the Shiva Pujan. And when my guru would chant it, it would be for me like I'm chanting it for my guru. Can I recite?
Yes, please.
Om सर्वं सदाशिवसहस्रममापराधम् मग्नं समुद्धरमहत्यमुमापदब्धौ सर्वात्मना तव पदाम्बुजमेव दीनः स्वामिन्ननन्यशरणः शरणं गतोऽस्मि स्वामिन्ननन्यशरणः शरणं गतोऽस्मि गतं पापं गतं दुःखं गतं दारिद्र्यमेव च आगता सुखसम्पत्तिः पुण्यांश्च तव दर्शनात् देवो दाता च भोक्ता च देवरूपमिदं जगत् देवो जयति सर्वत्र यो देवः सोऽहमेव हीं ॐ नमः पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव।
Har Har Mahadev. Thank you so much. I'm going to play this daily as part of my prayer. It's so powerful. It's so absorbing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Love all of you, and stay healthy, stay happy, and most importantly, stay spiritual.
Awesome. For our listeners, that's that from us in this episode. Stay spiritual, stay awesome, and we'll connect with you next time with another episode and another great topic. Thank you so much for listening today.